How motivation and emotions connect to Subic-based sex bars, the children of the sex trade. In 1969, Father Shay Cullen, an Irish missionary priest, was assigned by the Missionary Society of St. Columban to Olongapo City, in the parish of St. Joseph. He encountered many young people in the school with family problems of broken homes, due to the presence of the US military base on Subic Bay and the prostitution industry it created. He saw the human suffering of dire poverty in the slums and the thousands of women and children exploited in the bonded labor in the sex bars. The only employment industry in the city besides a job in a naval base was a sex business. It promoted the sexual exploitation of women and children, and HIV, AIDS, venereal disease, drug abuse, broken homes, and crime were the result. The rich business bar, the hotel operators, and the politicians made money out of this human trafficking and drug abuse.
Homeostasis denotes the maintenance or regulation of vital internal variables in a state of relative constancy. Automatic, cellular mechanisms, neural and endocrine controls, and behavior all contribute importantly to homeostasis. Father Shay responded to help the young people, mostly former male students, dependent on the use of medications and illegal substances, and he established Preda, People Recovery Empowerment Development Assistance Foundation in 1974. The first project was at Upper Calaklan, a residential home, a rehabilitation sanctuary outside the city that was an open center without guards or walls or fences. It provided a safe environment, a therapeutic community based on affirmation, dignity, respect, emotional expression therapy, education, and family reconciliation.
Child following the discovery in 1982 by Father Shay of large number of children commercially sexually exploited by local and US servicemen. The city administration was angry at exposed and gathered petition to have him deported, and they moved to close the Preda homes. Instead of closing Preda home, Father Shay proposed closing the US military to end sex industry, end sex tourism, drug trafficking, and provide an economic zone jobs with dignity and save thousands young people. He wrote extensively about his weekly column in national newspaper. It was considered preposterous and ridiculous idea. It's unthinkable for the city to survive without U.S. naval base. Father Shay was subject to criticism and false charge of libel due to his speak out against child abuse, rescuing children from victims, pedophiles, from human trafficking of women and children.
His objective was to demand that the military base be transformed into widespread sexual exploitation of women and children, which was the only source of work in Olongapo City, be ended. An alternative was presented to replace the cruel and degrading industry. Father Shay proposed decommissioning the military base and repurposing the buildings into light manufacturing, educational facilities, and family tourism businesses. He recommended the 6-point conversion strategy. In 1983, the Preda Foundation launched an advocacy effort to replace the military base, shut down the sex business, and restore Filipino dignity with an empowered team of Filipino women and male workers, summarizing factors and signals that have been found to influence energy homeostasis in a sexually dimorphic manner, and proposing a framework for integrating these factors and signals to mediate sex differences in energy homeostasis. In rodents, there is a clear sexual dimorphism in the regulation of eating behavior and energy homeostasis.
Foreigners' desire for their ladies, boys, girls, and children is met by their supply. They see that they may obtain money by being utilized quickly and effortlessly. They make good money, but the guy who paid them don't. A French national was arrested last month and accused of sexually molesting young boys. He claimed to be a tourist, but his room contained photos of naked girls, children, unprocessed film, and cosmetic gel. A bar girl might be paid $5 for a night with a meal. The Philippines is still the cheapest fuck in the world, according to one of the many Australian bar owners in Angeles, so the former American Clark Air Base city that is now a sex tourism destination. However, the mechanism for this sexual dimorphism remain elusive, and a better understanding of this fundamental sex difference in energy homeostasis will no doubt benefit our current combat against obesity pandemics.
Children who were formerly discarded return from school to the safe house Father Shay Cullen's Preda Foundation, where they reside high above Subic Bay's tropical splendor. They slug up the path amid blooming shrubs, dragging their school bags behind them. Their uniforms clean as a pin, they appear to be well cared for children. Richard and Francis, on the other hand, have a mother who was unwell from working in bars during the US Marines' arrival. Irene, for example, was raped in kindergarten before being sold to a neighbor. When she was 10 years old, she was abused by a foreign pedophile, Jerry, a runaway who was making £1.50 per night in Manila with foreign gays. Franco, no one knows his name or origins. Jordan and Jackie, Afro-Americans, mother died of tuberculosis. There are 23 more in all, and there's Hazel who wants to be a therapist and is studying psychology. Her father had abused her sexually. His imprisonment distinguishes him as the first Filipino father to be in prison for incest.
This local victory for Father Cullen's campaign against child abusers may soon be matched by the first conviction of a foreign pedophile in the Philippines. The priest and his assistants are now spending a lot of time using concealed cameras and tape recorders to gather proof. They're working on 25 cases involving underage sex, 8 of which are now active. It's difficult to express a child's dignity in a courtroom in Olongapo City, where until recently 16,000 prostitutes served American sailors and everything was on offer. She was reversing the ideals of the filthy town around her by being in court. Even if the children are unwanted paupers, whom the police routinely imprison for being homeless, and even if the man is a foreigner and relatively wealthy, she was saying that using children for an adult's sexual gratification matters. Others, the Spanish, have had colonial possession of the Philippines for a long time. It is nearly impossible to express the value of a native child when dealing with Americans or Japanese. However, when the law is used against a child abuser, this is what is alleged.
Other foreign males visit the Philippines to assist. Aside from Preda Foundation, there are numerous other examples of compassion. A French priest houses roughly 100 former child prostitutes in a single Manila neighborhood. Father Ed Kelly, a married Irish priest, threw his lot in with 25,000 squatters who were picked up in Manila and thrown in a wilderness 30 miles distant 30 years ago. They dug wells, built houses, created schools and clinics, and taught young people skills over the years. Such efforts cuts to the core of the beast that is poverty, so does political activities such as Father Niall O'Brien's anti-establishment stand and other religious sustain that confronts the causes of social inequality rather than ignoring them. Taking against the corrupt legal system on behalf of children and young people raises the possibility of a shift in the Filipino self-image. There are many common reactions to sexual violence. Not all survivors of sexual violence are the same, nor will any act of sexual violence affect two people in the same way.
Father Cullen's challenges have made him quite unpopular. When he focused on rehabilitating drug users, and his main economic influence was the little handicrafts trade he organized. He was a popular person in Olongapo City. He was even authorized to sell his co-crafts ops inside the US Naval Base at Subic Bay, which was the size of a big and affluent town for decades. His father was mayor of Olongapo till he was slain. His nephew is a councilor. His brother's wife is mayor of Olongapo City, and his brother is the director of the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority. The directorship of the SBMA is the most prominent position here in the economic zone that the former naval base has become. While much of the rest of the Philippines may have little left to pillage, the SBMA promises a Marcos-style windfall.
The new SBMA has been granted numerous exemptions from existing planning and employment rules. However, there aren't many work opportunities available after leaving a Navy installation. A former enlisted man's barracks has been converted into a hotel. The former officers' club has been converted into a casino. To accommodate the heads of state who will be staying at Subic Bay for this year's APEC conference, a route is being carved through the forest. Following that exhibition, all of that base's money-making prospects will be made available to well-placed bodies. Shay Cullen can bring negative publicity to Olongapo, which is not wanted. The circle of injustice, which is inexorably leads to the prostitution of the most powerless, is already in motion. The Americans left 10,000 people with excellent houses. The surrounding area is littered with shanties built by Filipinos who were displaced by the volcano, storm, and flood. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you again.